Obviously, I talk to a lot of constituents about these issues, and then when they call me under the impetus of parks, a lot of the time they'll also say, "Well, now that we're chatting, I want to talk to you about, well, if we're." Some of them have this idea that we're privatizing parks through this sale of parks, which is, we've gone over that about how there are no parks for sale. But then once they get into this word privatization, then they want to ask about whether or not this whole parks thing, everything that's happening around parks, if it's just essentially a product of an overall government agenda with regards to privatization, applying equally to healthcare and to education and things of that nature. So I was wondering if you had anything to, again, these are comments that are coming out of my constituents, constituency, and given that I've got the opportunity to ask you, I have to ask you. So, and I appreciate you taking the time. So.
So I think the question you're asking is whether or not we would privatize parks, i.e., turn them over to businesses or those type of things that I think if I've is where you're headed. If I'm following you, uh, no, we have a provincial park system that remains owned and fully in the control of Alberta Environment and Parks, of the department and the government, and will continue to be. But partnerships with private operators who help come in and operate facilities have been taking place in this province for decades, including underneath the NDP, and they do continue to take place. In fact, most of the time you are probably camping inside one of our provincial parks and don't even know that it's being managed by a private operator. Jeremy talked about his favorite campground. He knows the operator, I think, because he goes there enough, so he's probably met her. But that is managed by a private operator. But they are not; they don't own the facility. They have an arrangement with the provincial parks department to be able to manage them, and that goes back to, actually, Jeremy mentioned it. Him and I, when we worked at the Mustard Seed, helped manage some provincial parks for the government at the time in very remote areas, and we happened to be running a lodge that was right next to them, and it was way more affordable for our staff to be able to clean the washrooms and maintain the campgrounds for people to enjoy. But those facilities always remain fully owned by, or sorry, those parks always remain fully owned by the provincial crown, and will continue to.